It is likely that many people have never heard of Shiro Ishii, the Surgeon General of the Imperial Japanese Army. Ishii served as the director of Unit 731, a notorious biological weapons research facility situated in Manchuria, China. Established in 1936 under the orders of Emperor Hirohito, Unit 731 operated under the guise of the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department of the Quantum Army. The creation of Unit 731 was prompted by the Western powers' development of chemical and biological weapons. Recognizing the efficacy of chlorine gas used during World War I, Shiro Ishii advocated for his own research center. As a microbiologist and a dedicated member of the Imperial Japanese Army from 1921 to 1945, Ishii possessed remarkable skills and even developed a highly effective water purification system. However, his true passion lay in the development of biological and bacteriological weapons for the Japanese Army. Starting in 1931, the Imperial Japanese Army occupied vast regions of China as part of their expansionist agenda. The treatment of those under Japanese control is a story for another day, but it is important to note that Japanese-controlled Manchuria provided the ideal setting for conducting human experiments. Unit 731's research gained infamy due to its test subjects, predominantly consisting of Chinese and Russian prisoners. While there are reports of occasional prisoners of war from Korea, Britain, the United States, and Mongolia, individuals of various demographics were gathered, including men, women, children, and even pregnant women. The elderly and the infirm were also subjected to these experiments, all in the pursuit of obtaining accurate and cruel results related to various diseases. Anthrax, bubonic plague, smallpox, and numerous other diseases were cultivated within Unit 731. Anesthesia and painkillers were deliberately minimized to ensure accurate records of human suffering and the horrific effects of the injuries inflicted. In summary, Unit 731 had two primary objectives: to create and comprehend the effects of biological and chemical weapons, as well as conventional weapons, and to understand the diverse injuries that Imperial Japanese soldiers might encounter, aiming to develop optimal treatment methods that would ensure Japanese victory. A wide range of experiments were conducted within the facility. For instance, severe cold was studied by subjecting limbs to temperatures as low as -45 degrees Celsius. Prisoners were left tied to stakes in the frigid winter cold, allowing their limbs to naturally succumb to frostbite. Guards hastened the process by dousing the test subjects with water. These efficient guards had devised a method to determine the readiness of a prisoner. They would strike the affected limbs with a wooden stick and listen for a distinct wood-on-wood sound. Once the doctors had their subjects, they employed various methods to cure frostbite, including the application of boiling water or allowing the limbs to thaw naturally. Vivisection, the act of performing surgery on a living human specimen, was a common occurrence within Unit 731. Trainee surgeons from the Japanese mainland were dispatched to the facility to hone their skills on unwilling patients. Limb amputations and reattachments were performed, while prisoners served as targets for combat medics to gain experience in treating bullet wounds. Stomachs, appendices, and lungs were excised to observe the patient's ability to cope without them or to provide junior doctors with practice opportunities. Countless experiments were conducted on individual inmates, and once they outlived their usefulness, they were killed and disposed of. Though testimonials are scarce, one student surgeon who participated in such operations vividly recalls the haunting scream of an inmate when their chest was cut open from the chest to the stomach. For the doctors who worked regularly at Unit 731, however, it was just another routine day, as they did not view their predominantly Chinese victims as human beings. In fact, prisoners were derogatorily referred to as logs, with phrases like, "How many logs have you chopped today?" and "How many logs have you burned to ash today?" commonly used to describe them. While some experiments involved more conventional weapons, such as testing the effective ranges of grenades on prisoners tied to stakes or assessing the damage inflicted by flamethrowers from different distances, Unit 731 primarily focused on intravenous diseases like syphilis. Prisoners were coerced into engaging in sexual acts with one another to facilitate the spread of various diseases. Those who refused were summarily shot. The objective was to monitor the stages of these diseases to enhance understanding and formulate treatments. Inmates at various stages of the diseases were subjected to vivisection, and women were forcibly impregnated to study the effects on unborn fetuses. These experiments extended beyond the walls of Unit 731's operating rooms and even reached nearby Chinese villages. One of the facility's primary functions was the production of viable chemical and biological weapons. Extensive efforts were dedicated to infecting fleas with bubonic plague, smallpox, and cholera, which were then released by dropping contaminated wheat, clothes, or sand onto Chinese villages. Later, ceramic bombs were developed and tested with the goal of efficiently delivering pathogens to both enemy forces and civilian populations. The death toll resulting from the various plagues unleashed on the Chinese population is estimated to be around 250,000. Even after the Japanese surrender, the doctors at Unit 731 staged a final act of defiance by releasing millions of infected fleas carrying the bubonic plague into the Chinese countryside, resulting in an estimated 30,000 deaths. The remaining 150 prisoners were executed, and the buildings of Unit 731 were demolished. Most of the records were destroyed as the doctors went into hiding, fearing the consequences of their war crimes. Shiro Ishii attempted to fake his own death but was eventually discovered by the Americans, who demanded his extradition for interrogation. Both the Americans and the Soviets desired Ishii and his research, expertise, and knowledge. Ishii managed to negotiate a deal for himself and the leading doctors of Unit 731, securing full immunity and cash payments in exchange for sharing his 14 years of research. Consequently, he was released as a free man and even hailed as a war hero, receiving the Order of the Golden Kite, Japan's second highest military commendation. The majority of those in command of Unit 731 evaded justice. Shiro Ishii passed away at the age of 67 due to throat cancer. The true extent of the depravity within Unit 731 may never be fully known, given the destruction of numerous records and the absence of survivors who could testify to the horrors. We rely on the testimonials of a few guards who came forward and the accounts of witnesses who witnessed the unimaginable horrors inflicted upon fellow human beings, men, women, and children. The usefulness of Shiro Ishii's research is undeniable. But the question remains whether he and his unscrupulous cohort of doctors should have evaded justice in exchange for their scientific contributions. It may seem like a straightforward question, but the actions of those involved in making such deals might have differed significantly.